An interesting game here on the board, and this will be one of our highlight games for our ATS YouTube page. Game 121, 122 is Appalachian State and Marshall. App State up to 4.5 now total on this game in the 59.5 range. This is an interesting one because we have a scenario here where, App State, as we talked about last week, one of the two teams with an altitude advantage here with the Mountain West and the Pac-12 not playing. Boone, North Carolina, very, very high in elevation as far as, teams east of the Mississippi go. UTEP, the other one down in El Paso. Now they're on the road in Huntington, West Virginia to take on a Marshall team that is generally very, very well coached. And App State, one of those teams with a first-year head coach in Sean Clark, and we've talked about that a lot already here on the podcast version of ATS.io radio. What do you think about this one here, Brad, between App State and Marshall?
Pure power rating for me is 5.5. I upgraded Marshall significantly, 3 points from the Eastern Kentucky performance, although I think Eastern Kentucky is just a terrible team. I think that's been proven now the first couple games of the season. And I think most of the upgrade didn't have to do with any part of the team other than the quarterback. Grant Wells looked the part, threw the ball down the field. I don't care if you got open receivers. To be able to throw it, on a line 40, 50 yards down the field several times in that game against Eastern Kentucky, I upgraded Marshall. App State, I bet against App State. I liked Charlotte last week. Bet Charlotte early in the week and a much better number than where it closed at 16.5. And I was not impressed whatsoever with Charlotte. I thought I had to hang on for dear life, even though Charlotte was only down 1 point late third quarter in that game. Didn't feel necessarily comfortable with my bet. I want to bet against App State, and I upgraded App State's power rating. They had a couple rushers go for 100 yards. They gave up a kick return touchdown. They fumbled on the 1 yard line. They probably should have easily covered that game against Charlotte. A Charlotte team that went to a bowl game last year. App State had 11 spring practices. And even though they got a first-year coach, there's still some continuity. He was there in the program. His new defensive coordinator was in the program for several years prior to taking last year off with another program. So there's more continuity at App State than most. You got the quarterback, Zach Taylor, a multiple-year starter. I like App State here at the 4.5 number. They're the more proven commodity for me. Other than upgrading Marshall, I still don't know much. 0 spring practices, and they played an average FCS team at best. More comfortable with the Mounties here.
Yeah, I thought it's a really interesting handicap. And like you, my number's a little bit higher than the market. I've got 6 on this one. Couple of talking points I want to expand on a little bit more here. For Marshall, they play a game, then they have a week off. Now They play again. And we talked earlier in the show about teams that are playing their first games here and not really being sure what we're going to get out of them. We got a couple of teams here, Navy being one of them this week with a long layoff, and then also Marshall. What do you think about that, where you don't get the spring practices, you've got this weird lead up to the season, you play a game, and you want to get into rhythm. You want to get all the timing down and all of that. You play a game, then you have a bye week. Now you play again against one of the best group of 5 schools in the country year in and year out. Do you think it helps Marshall if they got to play and then have a week off to work on things, or do you think it hurts them because you kind of strive for that consistency early in the year?
Yeah, I think in Marshall's case, and I think Navy's a completely different example, but Marshall's instance, I think it's a negative for them. I think I would have rather seen them, play game after game, get more consistency because they hadn't had any spring practices. So to me, I think, it's not a major negative. It's not like I moved, the game a point or so, but to me, it's not positive, EV.
What about the total here? Total moving up from 57 to 59, 59.5. And as you said, from watching Marshall in their first game, a little bit more of a vertical nature to that passing attack. But, we think about App State, they're always very good defensively. They're not really a big pass play offense. They run the football very well. Thomas takes care of the football. This total feel like it's getting a little bit high to you?
It does a little bit. So I had it in the 57, 58 range is where I power rated it at. So continues to climb for me, would lean under. And look, it's a big game. Maybe there's some nerves. I mean, this is a 3:30 CBS game now. And I think that would have been a major advantage for Marshall had they been able to sell out their stadium and stuff and have a 3:30 CBS time slot. Not so much with limited crowd attendance for them, even though they had some fans for Eastern Kentucky. Maybe some added pressure with the national spotlight. To me, when you have added pressure, I don't want to be, betting blindly on an over.
Well, it's not the strongest of consensus plays for us here, but both Brad and I do like Appalachian State here at There's better at 3.5, at 4.5. You know, it's a little bit closer to the power ratings numbers that we both have. But we wanted to break down this highlight game for you here on our ATS YouTube page and encourage you every Monday and Thursday, Tuesdays as well now with Brian Blessing, to check out our ATS.io radio content.